Welcome to Iron and Echoes at 7:23 a.m. on June 18th, 1944. A German sergeant named Jacob Mertens stood in the window of a farmhouse in France. Through his scope, he watched an American machine gun nest. He was hunting, but in the next 40 seconds, Mertens would be dead. Not from the machine gun, but from a place he never thought to look. 3 miles west, inside a dark and sweltering grain silo, sat Raymond Kuzlowski. He was a dairy farmer from Wisconsin who had been sitting in his own waste for 11 hours, waiting. He was not a military strategist. He was a man who understood silos. By the time the 82nd Airborne pushed through, the German command structure had collapsed. Officers refused to step outside. Sergeants led from behind cover, all because one man applied farm logic to the theater of war. This is the story of the silo sniper, the man who invented a doctrine the U.S. Army still teaches today, but for which he never received a single medal. Raymond Kuzlowski grew up in Sheboygan County, Wisconsin. On a dairy farm, you do the jobs nobody else wants. For Ray, that meant climbing into 40-foot silos to break up clogged grain. These were dark, claustrophobic spaces that smelled of fermented corn. He learned to shoot by hunting groundhogs. At 13, he could hit a pest at 200 yards. By 15, he was the best shot in the county. When the war broke out in 1941, Ray was 20. As a farmer, he was exempt from the draft. But when his cousins started coming home in flag-draped coffins, the guilt became too much. In 1942, he enlisted. At sniper school, instructors were baffled. He hit every target, center mass, at every distance. When they asked where he learned to shoot, he gave a one-word answer. Groundhogs. By June 1944, he was in Normandy with the 82nd Airborne, but the Americans were walking into a meat grinder. German snipers were everywhere, in church steeples, water towers, and barn lofts. They were systematic, picking off radio men and officers first. Ray watched his friends die from invisible shooters, and he realized the Americans were losing because they were playing by the book. Ray studied the landscape. Normandy was dotted with silos. These were tall concrete cylinders designed for grain storage. To a soldier, they were just farm equipment. To a farmer, they were a fortress. Ray climbed a 32-foot concrete silo at dawn. The view was extraordinary. He could see 3 miles in every direction. Every German sniper position in the steeples and barns was suddenly exposed from above. The walls were 3 inches of reinforced concrete. He found small ventilation slots, 6 inches wide, that allowed him to see out while staying completely invisible to those looking in. This was the echo of his youth. The Germans searched every house and every tree, but they never looked at the silos. To them, it was not tactical terrain. Ray spent June 16th preparing. He widened the ventilation slots with tin snips. He hauled up sandbags, 200 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition, and a bucket for waste. He knew the risks. If he was spotted, there was no escape. He would die 40 feet in the air, trapped in a concrete tube. June 17th, 6:12 a.m. The first target emerged. It was Lieutenant Klaus Becker, an officer responsible for dozens of American deaths. Ray adjusted for a 40-degree downward angle. This was a shot not found in any manual. The Springfield barked inside the silo like a cannon. Becker dropped. 2 soldiers rushed to help, but it was over. Ray did not stop. By 8:33 a.m., he took out a captain coordinating artillery. By 10:02 a.m., a staff car arrived. An Oberst colonel stepped out to assess the chaos. Ray compensated for the wind, squeezed the trigger, and the colonel collapsed before he reached the door. In one day, Ray took out 7 high-ranking officers. The Germans were in a panic. They sent patrols to search the nearby farmhouses and barns. They even searched the church steeples, but they walked right past the silo. Throughout the following days, Ray continued his mission. By the end of his stint, Ray had 23 confirmed kills. But more importantly, the German command structure in his sector had vanished. Coordination failed. Radio discipline turned into screams of "Where is he?" Ray's secret did not stay secret for long. Other snipers, many of them farm boys themselves, saw what he was doing. They stopped looking for steeples and started looking for grain storage. By July, dozens of American snipers were operating from silos across France. The numbers tell the story. Before the silo tactics spread, American sniper effectiveness was low. After Ray's innovation, officer kills tripled. Post-war analysis suggests these farm-born tactics saved over 200 American lives in 6 months. But if you look through the official medals of honor or silver stars, you will not find Raymond Kuzlowski. The Army absorbed his innovation but ignored the inventor. In 1946, the Army revised its sniper manual. It included a small paragraph on agricultural storage facilities. No name, no credit, just doctrine. Ray returned to Wisconsin in 1945. He never talked about the 28 officers he left in the French dirt. He went back to the cows, back to the fences, and back to the silos. He died as he lived, a quiet man who understood that sometimes the best way to win a war is to look at the world like a farmer. If you want more untold stories of the iron and the echoes of history, hit that like button to keep the history alive. Comment the word silo if you think Ray deserved a medal. Subscribe to Iron and Echoes. I'm your host, and until next time, keep listening for the echoes.